welcome to the Espace Tricot podcast.
I'm Stephanie.
I'm Naomi.
And we are a yarn store based in Montreal, and this is our podcast where we talk about that.
It's been a little while since our last episode, so we have so much to pack in and show you.
Should I go first?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I am wearing the Nordic Bloom vest by Caitlin Hunter. And this was on the cover of the Nordic Knits sort of special issue magazine of Lina a while ago. And this was kind of a long-term whip. Like it sat for a bit.
It was on your needles for a little while.
Yeah, I thought I was going to do sleeves because I didn't think I would wear something like this without sleeves. I was like, why would I have a heavy wool vest? And
it's cute though. It is written in these two different ways.
Yeah, so you can have a full sleeve on it or not. But then basically just to get the adrenaline hit of like, I have to finish something. I pulled out a sleeve that was down to here. I was like, I'm doing it. I'm going vest. And it happened so fast. And I actually love it. So it's quite cropped. So
did you knit it exactly as written?
Exactly as written. Okay. And I would say it's probably, I think it's designed to go over sort of, dresses and things like that, which isn't how I would wear it. I think if I was going to do it again, I might add an inch because it's knit this way. I would add an inch of plain before the color work.
You could add it after the color work too. There's a little bit of room there.
You could, but I like the flower boobs.
Okay.
I want you to, anyway. So it is in fact supposed to be steeked, but I'm going to tell you a secret. I have not steeked it yet. If you've followed us and you know me, I have no fear of steeking. It's not that I have an issue with it. I was thinking about chopping it on the podcast while we were talking.
We thought that would be a fun bit.
Yeah, just to prove how easy it is. It's not a big deal. But the truth is, I can't imagine ever wearing this open. It's just not how I would style it.
You're already not a super cardigan person, and it's so cropped.
Yeah,
that
it's like I'm not sure how that fits, but I would definitely continue to wear it closed. So I'm like, maybe I just don't.
Yeah.
And so I love it. This is in Gilead. Is the main is in color Genet, which is one of my favorites. It's sort of acidy yellow green. And then I use 2 colors of Noro Curion for my flowers. They're noted on the Ravelry project. I think they're numbers, so rather than trying to say them, I'll just say you can find them there. The one thing is we don't have a ton of Noro in stock right now.
I'm trying.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's this like trade war has made it so that we can't get it until July.
Yeah.
But if you have any in your stash for this size, it was maybe, I used a little bit over half of both balls. So 2 balls.
Yeah. And we have another beautiful example that I have posted on Instagram. If I can find a picture, I'll splice it in here. Our colleague Amalia made a beautiful version in just 2 colors with the Gilead and Noro, but the Silk Garden Solo that we have in the worsted weight, we only have 1 color because it's like the dreamiest.
It's the only color you need.
And it is beautiful in that too. So
I'm really loving this sort of thing that Caitlin Hunter is doing with her design work right now. I feel like she's in this very big color work, giant motifs, and I think they're really interesting and engaging to knit, and I'm loving it.
And they're really good for color changing yarns because you get these big splodges of color, these big areas that work really well.
So yeah, that's my
nice.
That's what I'm wearing. What about you?
I'm wearing a couple of things. One of them you might recognize, one of them is new. It's still not quite our blazing, beautiful, warm spring that we're all waiting for. So I was wearing, I tossed this cardigan on when I got to the store just as a light little layer, and it's working really well. This is the Coquille cardigan by Emma Duché. And it was, originally the pattern is written for a fingering weight and a mohair, but I knit it in the Sweet Georgia Flaxen Silk Fine, I want to say last year.
Yeah, I think so.
And it has a beautiful drape. I haven't often, or maybe even this is the only time that I've done such a dramatic complete fiber switch up within a pattern from what's recommended, but it was just ticking the boxes for what I wanted from the garment I envisioned with this beautiful silk and linen blend. It still has silk, but obviously silk in a linen blend is going to behave quite differently from silk in a mohair blend, but it still just has a beautiful drape and shine to it. It's a little lighter. I did knit it at the gauge of the pattern. And the yardage in this is so good. It's like 480 yards in a 100-gram skein, and this is, I believe, 22 stitches, maybe 23. And you can see that it's good coverage, so that's a good gauge for all the beautiful like light fingerings to sport weight tops out there that are written in that like low 20s gauge range. And most patterns we're finding for sort of light tees will do 2 skeins, will do
almost every size.
Now the cardigan has slightly longer sleeves and they're balloon sleeves. This was size 2 and it took 2 skeins and I had pretty good leftovers. but some sizes might need a size 3. So I'll just stand up here, and yeah, it's not too cropped, a beautiful sort of abalone shell type stitch motif, drop shoulder, really nicely constructed, and that's that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So it's a nice little layer when I was a bit chilly at the store, but here is my finished object underneath. Just shimmy this off here. And this is the Poppy Tea by Petit Knit. And so this I finished this past week.
Yeah.
And it is in the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. Now I love Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, but it is a product yarn for me rather than a process yarn. I'll be open about that.
Yeah.
I have another FO that I'll talk about later that I finished completely from start to finish after casting this on and before casting this off. This wasn't I had to sort of remind myself to come back to this and pick it up. And I was very focused on the absolutely incredible product, finished object that this 100% raw silk makes. I've done, I think, a top for myself the last 3 years in Knitting for Olive Silk. I'll do like one per season. They get so much wear in my closet. They're the most comfortable. It feels amazing on the skin. So luxurious. Again, with a beautiful drape to it. So light.
Yeah. It looks so chic.
So chic, so professional. And, you know, that helps when the pattern has such beautiful tailoring elements. This is the sleeve cap is knit at the same time, so you don't actually pick up any stitches for the sleeve.
Can you turn just a little bit more?
Yeah.
So one of the hallmarks of Petit Knit's constructions here is this quite deep back shoulder line here, and it is so elegant.
Yeah.
Okay, you can turn again.
And it perfectly suits a beautifully draped yarn like the silk. And I don't want this segment to sound like I'm putting people off trying this yarn.
Yeah.
The complete opposite. I really think everyone should try it. It is so beautiful. It is a unique experience, but it's very different from wool. It's not as familiar. It's not as stretchy.
It's the elasticity. I think it's the biggest difference. It's how it can really change how you tension your yarn and like what the stitches look like as they're coming off your needle. So you kind of have to like trust the process a bit.
Yeah.
But also, if you have had issues with 100% silk, I do think the Sweet Georgia could work on the Poppy Tea just as well.
It would be beautiful.
You know, for me, I do struggle a lot with pure cotton and pure silk and linen. This is one of my favorite summer yarns because there is something about this particular blend that has just a little bit more elasticity to it.
Yeah.
So they're good substitutes for each other. Obviously, they give a different effect though.
Absolutely. I love knitting. What motivates me when I'm knitting with this yarn is seeing the fabric emerge from my needles as I go, rather than the tactility of the process of making stitch by stitch, which is just a different thing, and it's fun to switch it up and try different things. So I just grabbed a few colors just to show you a little bit. I'm sure if you've watched us for any amount of time, you've probably seen a pretty good overview of the Knitting for Olive palette, and also it's a very popular yarn everywhere.
You used this one last year.
I used this one last year for a top, for a test knit. Interestingly, held double with the Knitting for Olive Merino, and that created a really interesting fabric.
Very cool.
That knit up to about 18 stitches. And there are some really great summer patterns in that range that I think could work. But one thing they're doing really well, or have done really well for a while, is yellows, which a lot of yarn lines kind of just toss in as an afterthought because you just have to have a yellow. Knitting for Olive has a couple beautiful, well thought out yellows, and this is absolutely the
color of the
color
season.
of the season. These butter
We've got
yellows.
a lot of people asking for buttery yellows.
So this is quince, and this is wheat. So quince is also available in the mohair and merino line. Wheat, I'm not sure. If it is, we don't stock it. Some of the colors in the silk are only for the silk.
Yeah.
But this is, if you want to dip your toe in the butter yellow trend, but this one's kind of feeling a bit much for you, this is a beautiful, softer, leaning towards beige, but definitely like golden, buttery hue to it that I think could be a fun thing to try.
Totally.
Yeah.
And very much of the moment.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that kind of leads us into summer yarns in general.
Yeah.
Do you want to keep going on some of these, especially the
on?
Sweet Georgia? I have, because we have a few samples right here behind me, actually. I have the Tenya. I would say with the Sweet Georgia from like up to 25, even 26 stitches, it can be fun, but it can go to 22. So this is 22.
Yeah.
This sample's been around with us for a very long time. I think maybe the first year we stocked Sweet Georgia. And it's just... It's still so pretty.
It's so pretty. It really holds up. The drape holds up. It's not sagging. It's not stretching.
Yeah.
What I always check with summer yarns is you do want them to have a bit of coverage. You don't want to always be thinking about which camisole to put on underneath.
Yeah.
And while you may want a cami or like, you know, the bralette style that's going on these days, this is not transparent by any means. It's got good coverage.
I designed a t-shirt in this. Actually, I don't have the sample with me. I wish I'd brought it in, but it's called the Monari, and it's like a yoke t-shirt with a little bit of a v-neck and some herringbone detail on the cuff. That's from back in my before Espace Tricot days. I'll link it just in case you want to see another example of like an easy breezy tee that you can do with the flaxen silk vine. It really is like, just make yourself something. It's just for the glory of like wearing it.
Yes.
Like, it feels so good next to your skin. Yeah.
You can't, and like it's one of those, truly one of these yarns that like you can't buy the quality that this gives you.
No, you can't go get a t-shirt that feels like this, period. This is from a Canadian company. So Sweet Georgia is based in BC. They've been around forever. Felicia Lowe is the creative director and founded the company. And like I've been knitting with Sweet Georgia since I started knitting 20 years ago.
I'm just going to show you these colors again.
So if buying Canadian is of interest to you right now, this is a great option. You're supporting a whole bunch of Canadian businesses along the chain that work on this. So.
Why don't we get that t-shirt back on the mannequin?
Oh, she's naked. She's naked. Okay, I'll do that while you get the next yarn going.
Well, yeah, we still have two more summery yarns to tell you about. And since I'm holding this one, let's start with the Petit Lin and the Petit Lin Plus. Okay. Back again for another year, our exclusive house line of 100% linen. Spun and dyed for us in Latvia and Lithuania. I believe the spinning happens in one country and the dyeing in another, and I'm not exactly sure of the way around, but the linen from this part of the world, like,
it's famous for it.
The geographic conditions are absolutely perfect for the flax plant, and it just makes stunning yarns. And we keep pulling out this. I won't go on about it for ages because we have talked about these samples before. They just keep getting better every year. We dig them out in the spring, and they have a more beautiful drape. They've softened a little bit. So there we have our pattern, the Eze wrap, originally by Lisa Di Fuchsia. That's a pattern available on Ravelry from us. And then we have this, that is in the lace weight. Do you want to?
Yeah.
So this is a very fine, beautiful fine yarn. As our colleague Alessia is fond of saying, the juice is worth the squeeze.
It's a good one. She loves to say that, and it is very true. This is quite a bit of work, but it's like what Naomi was talking about. It'll be about the fabric you're creating, maybe not as much about how it feels on your needles.
And you don't even have to wait until it's finished and blocked to get that feeling from the fabric. You're getting that feeling as it goes, as it's, you know, draping beautifully off your needles into your lap.
Yeah, I would actually say that the lace weight is got more of that feel than the sport weight, but the sport weight has more, there's more patterns available for it.
Yeah, it's more versatile. Yeah. This one, I would say if you grab a bamboo needle of about like a 3mm to 3.5mm, that's what you want to be knitting it on.
Yeah, you don't have to knit it on what you would knit like Shetland lace.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
It's not that kind of
It
lace.
looks intimidatingly thin, but give it room. And we definitely recommend bamboo needles. They just help it stay in place, make the knitting process smoother, give you a more satisfying result as you're going along. And I knit a whole lace wrap in this in pretty much jersey. I think it was a rib. It was a banana leaf shawl, which I didn't dig out, but I'll link it below.
It's beautiful.
It's a rib that's so wide that effectively you're just doing reverse stockinette the whole time. And somehow I got through it in like 3 weeks. And I've never really knit such a big stockinette wrap, even in yarn.
In wool. In yarn. Like, we're just like, you know, yarn, the default.
Even in wool. And this one somehow kept me going through it.
Yeah, it feels wonderful. I'm really enjoying just having it in my hands here. Okay.
This is the outline tee by Jessie Maid. This is knit at, this is a Petit Lin Plus sport weight in at 23 stitches. So we used a 3.5mm needle to get there, US 4. This took 3 skeins and it's a size medium. Lovely classic pattern comes back year after year from her.
There's a tank version of this as well if you prefer a tank top.
The drop stitch detail is so much fun to do.
Yeah, and it's so crisp in linen.
Yes.
Like it looks so good.
Yeah. So
it reminds me of something like Meghan Markle would wear or something.
Yeah.
It's got a bit of her vibe. In that color especially.
A little bit of that. Okay, well maybe show up on the floor for a second now.
And then I'm sure we've shown this 1,000 times. This is the Eileen bag. In fact, like around this time of year, I recognize customers coming into the store with their Eileen bags where I'm like, I'm clocking it. I know you made that. So this is just one skein of the Petit Plus. It's got like a nice little, what's this called again? The special ribbing where it's like a slip stitch
double
in it.
knit?
A double knit. So it has like a double knit handle, classic market bag, fabulous.
We also
make
have
1,000 of them.
We have kits that we made for a design that Hoki Locatelli did in this yarn originally. The staple linen top that keeps coming back year after year as well. A beautiful shell tank with a ribbing detail, gorgeous pattern idea for it. And I just grabbed an armful to show you all the colors for visual aid, and here I am dropping it all over the place. See, it's so fun to see customers come in and just push the boat with their palette on their summer knits. They'll come in maybe thinking about a cream, and then they'll leave with like this one, the village. This is called the Village, and I love that. I love that people get a little more playful with their color palettes in the summer. And it's the time to do it.
And people talk about what they're going to wear stuff with. So a lot of the time in summer, they're thinking more about wearing things with white, with cream, with beige. So it's nice to like, we can sort of be like, oh, well, this is different than just wearing denim all the time. I wear denim all the time, all summer long too, because that's like basically my whole personality with it.
One more.
Yeah, actually, one more yarn, but a couple of things in it.
This I think is a new fresh finished object that deserves a try on. So who's gonna wear it?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Do you want click? Yeah.
This color.
Well, it helps it also like in that magical space between clicks, we also open the window blinds. Yeah, so this is the Kylie pullover in Sandnes Garn line, which is a kind of worsted weight. DK to worsted, linen, cotton, and viscose blend that basically our customers have been begging us to get now for years, and we finally like, okay, we'll do it, and we're so glad that we did.
I've been begging Steph to get it too, because I tried it out I think last year, and I love it.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's and it's produced some beautiful pieces already, including this one, which has been in front of our mannequin.
I should have a ball to show you.
Yeah, let's do that. In the meantime, so this is by Irene Lin, a designer we really, really like. There's a really interesting combination of cables and lace in this. There's a version with longer sleeves. Amalia knit this one for us. I think it was 6 balls. Here, we have a little tag here.
Some of the 6th, yeah.
Yeah, 6 balls for the 48-inch. That's size 1. So it's obviously got some generous yardage in it, because usually I would choose a 2 or a 3.
Ease.
Sorry, ease. That's what I meant, generous ease. And I probably wouldn't wear a bright white tank top underneath it.
Yeah, this is sort of the thing I was thinking about, thinking about your camisoles in the summer. But if you load up on a few sort of your own flesh-toned under camis, you're good to go for like pretty much all the summer knits.
Yeah.
Yeah. This comes in so many fun colors, fun little topper layers like this. So like a really fun way to play with bringing new colors into your wardrobe.
I love this color. This one was called
this one, it's 3819. I think it was Red Flame. Spicy Flame.
We'll put it in the comments below, because there's also like an orange
eating
tiger.
flames to tell if they're spicy? I don't know.
I mean,
it looks fantastic on
these ready oranges are my favorite.
They are so good on every, well, I don't know what to say every single person in the world, but it's a surprisingly versatile color that just lights up so many people.
I find that another color like that is sort of these tealy turquoises look good on almost everybody as well.
So I've got wholeheartedly behind line. I'm trying it out on a bunch of different stuff, and one thing that it is so fun for too that we haven't mentioned yet is crochet. It crochets beautifully. It's robust enough that like the crochet hook, it's not splitty, it's not too splitty, and I've been really enjoying it in a new design. So I'm trying something out. I won't reveal too much, but something's coming soon. And I also, a bunch of the team have jumped on the knitted dress vibe for the summer. Now that we have this dress I'm knitting is a Hillier dress, and it is at 19 stitches as well, I want to say. It's a really beautiful fabric around 18 to 21. It's versatile, but for a summer dress, this is coming along.
That is coming along amazingly.
Well. I'm super happy with it. I actually did the ribbing as usual on the bodice is done at the end. The armholes are quite deep when I tried it on. There is a bit of gaping here, so I'm going to see what her pickup ratio is and see about that. But so far, the neckline,
the front neck looks
the front
great.
neck, and this is going to be a button placket, is going really, really well. So I wanted to give a bit of structure to it by seeing what it's going to be like with the ribs. So I just added them on.
It really does. It's amazing what a difference that makes in it feeling like, oh, I see how it's gonna lie. Like,
Which doing little things like that, if you're working on a really, really long project, just like to take a break from the skirt. I think I reached the end of a ball of yarn and I started the next ball of yarn by knitting my ribs, just for a change in pace and to keep me motivated by seeing what it's going to
and just like to be able to try it on and see how it's actually good. Like, see, I bet you that changes where that line is of the pickup, right?
The armholes definitely will. So I also added some A-line shaping along the sides because it increases at a specific ratio after the bodice. And I wanted to just give it a little more room to get over my hips. So I hope I won't regret that. I don't think it's going to be too emphasized, but I'm not going to do A-line all the way down. I think I increased about 20 stitches with an A-line, and now I'm going to stop.
That's perfect. That's the old days when we used to make things like this. When I first started knitting, everything was...
And I like a little fit and flare moment.
Yeah, and I think in that design is really nice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So these are my line projects, and I'm very much feeling like I hope I can get this done for this summer. So I was saying to Steph, like, maybe I'll knit this during the podcast, and she was skeptical. She's like,
if you want, I'll go on to my crochet project.
Why not? Why don't I knit through your crochet project?
So you can see that Naomi's got a crochet project in progress, a potential new design. And I don't want to take credit, but I have been seriously bitten by the crochet bug. So I think that I'm an influencer in a tiny sphere of just influencing my colleagues to wanting to crochet. So I have a new finished object and some other crochet to show, but I'll start with this. This is a crochet chicken bag. And I don't know why, but like there's something about it. I want to say it that way. Crochet chicken bag. It wants to be a song.
Want to sing it,
I want to sing it. I want to prance it.
With like a kind of sound.
I can do a really good bacade. Do I dare do it?
I think you should do it.
Sorry. There you go. So this is worked in our Yarnalia Fluffy, which is mostly acrylic with some wool blend. One of the few acrylic blends that we keep in stock, but it's really great for exactly this kind of project or like a big Afghan, things like that. So this is crocheted on I think it called for an 8mm, but knowing myself, I used a 6mm crochet hook because I am quite loose when it comes to gauge.
And that made it nice, and you want it to be dense, you want it to be able to hold things, you want it to have structure. So if anything, I would say like lean smaller and
and you know,
it might make a slightly smaller bag.
Know thyself. I didn't need to swatch. I knew that I was going to need to go down. Yeah. So this was so much fun. I think I completed it in less than 24 hours. Like it was so much fun, so motivating. Especially once the head started to come together, there was a lot of chuckling. But I honestly think also that it's very chic. We were talking about this sort of Kate Spade, the sort of long history of sort of humorous, whimsical bags.
Specifically also wicker bags. The way that wicker has been used and Kate Spade wasn't the first and isn't the only brand to do this. But a very mid-century vibe, a little picnic basket vibe, playful. Again, like a way for, you know, a grown adult wardrobe to incorporate some whimsy. Yeah, and I think the wicker element of that trend and that sort of like fashion context, whatever.
It's echoed in this for sure. Yeah. So obviously I will link the pattern below, but also we have some kits. So
we had a lot of fun making
We really did have so there's this one, which we called, which kind of chicken is this? Oh, a Plymouth Rock. So we had fun looking up different chicken shades.
Do yourself a favor, if you're having a bit of a slump today, after the podcast, because you're going to watch the rest of the podcast because, you know,
it's
hopefully
fun.
We can get you out of that slump too. But after the podcast, do yourself a favor, Google fancy chickens.
Fancy chickens.
It's a lot of fun. You'll have fun.
So the original, this one that I did is called Plymouth Rock, but we also did a classic leghorn, right? Foghorn leghorn, like a classic white chicken. And then a Buff Orpington, which I'd never heard of, but now it's all I think about is that there's a chicken called the Buff Orpington.
It really sounds like a character in a P.G. Woodhouse novel. Like Buff Orpington IV is somebody that Bertie Wooster would totally like meet on his New York adventures.
Yeah. So basically, our kits have everything except the pattern. You have to buy the pattern separately, but it has the eyes, and it has we've even split out the little bits you need for the red and yellow details of
Because you don't need a whole ball of yarn.
No, you don't. So even, everything you need for this is included. The little eyes are included, and 2 balls of the fluffy. So that is my finished crochet object, but I have some other crochet to show. Keep going. You're happy.
Well, I haven't quite got a round yet done,
okay,
so
well,
that goes to show how long these rounds are.
So I'll go from, I'm gonna build the drama. That's the order that I'm gonna go in. So a while ago we had crochet teacher Sue Sue from the Mercery in the UK was visiting, and she taught a course with us, and it was called sort of Join As You Go Flowers. So she handed out some examples that she'd written, and I'm pretty sure that the only way to get them is to do a class with her and have them handed to you. And one of them is this pretty little flower. So pretty. And I just dug into, like, this is the deep stash.
Yeah.
Like, I was there when this stash was written. Cotton that's been sitting in my stash for so long, and I really had no idea what I was ever going to do with it because it didn't feel good to knit with. It wasn't that kind of thing, and I wasn't a crocheter. But now I am. So I don't even really know what I'm doing with this other than just having so much fun joining these as I go.
It's beautiful.
And getting better all the time. Like, I have actually pulled some off because I was like, oh, I've gotten better and that wasn't good enough. So this is a really nice waiting room project. I can also do a bunch of the flowers separately, and then when I'm back home with my stuff, I can join them. So I'm finding this is it's so different than what I knit. In its aesthetic, in the way that it's put together. One of the things I've kind of struggled with crochet is there's so much starting and stopping. Yeah, so it's that's beginning, middle, end, beginning, middle, end, beginning, middle, end, over and over instead of beginning, middle, end. Mm-hmm. And it's a different pace, but I think it's been really good for my brain.
Awesome.
And it's helped me rediscover a love of knitting as well, because I was in a bit of a slump at having trouble finishing things, and I think this has helped.
Awesome.
So this is, if the chicken bag is easy, and then this is midway.
Yeah.
I have a third thing.
Awesome. Crochet is, it reminds me of things like that. If you need a quick win, crochet something.
Yeah, because you can do one motif. Like if you have half an hour
Yeah.
or 20 minutes in your day to do something, you could do one of those a day, and in a couple months you'd have something pretty significant.
Yeah.
But I think because of knitting, I have a tendency to do more 3 hours at a stretch and then nothing for a few days.
Yeah.
So it's rewiring me a bit. So how all this comes together is I'm doing a course, one of Sue's classes, who designed that. She mostly offers her patterns only through courses. Her approach to crochet is that of a visual artist. So I signed up as a treat to myself. It was my Christmas present to myself for the Tessellation Nation blanket, which is this incredible piece, which I have about 1/5 of it done here. Wow. So this, so this is the bottom part of my blanket that I'm making, and it's supposed to be in DK, but I decided to do it in fingering weight because this is all about color, this particular project. The reason there's a big hole here is because there's a huge motif that goes here that you do last. So part of the process is kind of how you build. But just to give you a sense of the planning involved in this, without giving away the whole thing, this is my binder that I have for this pattern. And I have a map that helps me stay on track. So one of the things that I produced in the class is this drawing here, which is what I kind of want my color scheme to be for my blanket. So each one of these little tiles, you're kind of selecting what you want it to be. And then here I have a black and white version where I color in each item as I create it so that I don't lose track of where I am and I know what I'm doing, and I match it to that. Another element that I did is I bought myself this, it's a serving tray. You're supposed to put crudités in it and bring it to a picnic. But instead, I'm using it to have all of my little bits and bobs so that I can work on this relatively easily without having to have full skeins. Because I've got probably, 26 colors going on. And it's been, one of the reasons I decided to do it in fingering weight is I have a huge fingering weight stash, like I'm sure many of you do.
Leftovers and bits and bobs.
But I also have beautiful things I've bought at festivals or from hand dyers that were to commemorate, and then they sit because I don't know I didn't have a plan for them. I just fell in love with them.
Yeah.
So part of what's been beautiful about working on this is combining things from like all over the world and all my travels, leftovers from beautiful projects, and also yarns from our store to add into. So I feel like I'm really creating something that's like a map of my knitting journey in crochet.
Yeah.
And my plan is to eventually mount this and hang it on a wall. So that is just to say, I am falling in love with crochet, and I'm finding that pursuing a different craft, being at an intermediate stage maybe now, I certainly can't say I'm a beginner, but it's been about a year that I've been doing it, has really been great.
So we thought we might take a little bit of a sidetrack here, kind of on the similar path of non-knitting crafts, because we've been undertaking something quite offbeat for two yarn store owners.
Yeah.
Although actually not so offbeat as you might think.
Yeah. So here's a little secret. Naomi and I are kind of both interested in handbags.
That's maybe an understatement.
Yeah, but I think
we're handbag girls.
We like handbags. We're very keen and interested in them.
I always have been. I've always been sort of like, oh, you know, the right shoes for a couple different occasions, but I'm not like shoes.
Yeah.
I'm like handbags.
And I feel like part of me also thinks that like one day I'm going to find the perfect bag and it's going to change my life.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
So I love bags, and not just handbags, also knapsacks and all kinds of things. Anyways, point is, we share the Espace Tricot Instagram account, and we both love bags. So you can imagine what happens to the algorithm. And so we were both seeing people who were making their own leather bags, and we're like, this is interesting.
And a lot of them were knitting and crochet accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were like, maybe we could do that. So we did. We reached out to Babylon Leather, which is a company which produces these kits, and asked if we could try to make some bags together, like as a bestie project. So we did. I have finished mine. Naomi hasn't yet, but we're happy with that because we want to show you a little bit about the process. And we have one finished and one not. So without further ado, say hello to my Birkin. Like, I made this bag.
And I am making one. I'll show you all the different parts so you can get an idea, you can get a clearer picture of what's going on inside. So these are full grain cowhide leather.
Yeah.
They come with all the parts you need. You have all the thread you need. You're really doing everything yourself. And it's awesome.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. I think at one point in one of the videos, like, you can do this in 5 hours. No, you cannot. Mm-hmm. No. Maybe when you've done it 1,000 times, you could do it in 5 hours. Yeah. Certainly, there's nothing hard about it. It is basic saddle stitch. You use 2 needles at either end of a piece of thread.
And they all come, it's basically like a flat pack.
Yeah, we were amazed. When the box came, we were like, uh-oh, did they forget half of it? But you open it up and everything's in there.
So I'm at the point where I'm about to assemble mine with the sides. There's there's video help through, and they're really good walkthroughs. We'll link the videos below. So everything is, of course, step by step. So you have quite a lot of little bits and bobs to do these sort of trim bits,
decorative
first.
It's all functional.
Yeah, but none of this comes pre-stitched. I think the only stitching that came pre-stitched was this top one here.
Because they have this beautiful, like the proper sort of wax finish. I think it's wax. So one thing that we did try is we obviously both wanted the same size Birkin. So we're like, well, why is that interesting to do 2? So there's 2 different ways that the kit can be prepared. One is with straight on holes, round holes they call them, and one is called oblique holes.
So here's an example of the round holes, because this is at the bottom of the bag, so it gets hidden. That's what the round holes look like. They're round.
And you can really see them.
And then, do I actually have any oblique holes that I haven't done yet? I think I've stitched all my oblique holes, because at the moment I'm just doing all the seaming.
You're right.
The oblique holes, they're harder to see. They are diagonal slits. And ultimately, when you see the pictures of the finished bags, the oblique holes provide a more professional or more authentic finish to it's sort of more similar to this traditional saddle stitching that you find on these
fine bags.
Ultimate high-end luxury bags. So I thought I'd like that because the perfectionist in me preferred the look of the oblique holes. However, and to their credit, the lovely people we were communicating with warned us that the oblique holes are harder. There's a different way of stitching them. You have to be mindful of which thread is under and over when you're inserting the needles so that the diagonal line continues. And I must say, well, when I take a step back, it's fine. And I'm sure I know I will love this bag because I made it. It's so cool. But if I were to do this again, and both of us are pretty convinced we want to do this again.
Yeah.
I would go with the round holes. It's also just easier to get the needle through. So I often had to take some breaks because it was actually starting to hurt my hand a little bit, forcing the needle through. So if you've done anything like this before, and you prefer the look of the oblique holes, go for it. If you have more skill than you can tell from the pictures that it's like a more authentic luxury finish. But having seen the round holes in person, I'm like, I would totally do this next time.
So this one is the round holes, and you can see it looks pretty good. I think the other thing is my thread and leather color are better matched than yours.
Yes,
your thread is more visible
obvious
because it's more of a contrast. So little things like that might make a difference too. If I had a higher contrast thread, I might be seeing the holes, like the threading more. So we did this project. One of the things that we've talked about while we were sitting here sewing together, it's the other thing, it was really fun. We would stay late after work or get here before open and hang out and work on our bags together a bit. Eventually it got to the point where it got fiddly enough that you took yours back and so did I.
Yeah.
But at the beginning stages, we were sitting here together doing it. It was super fun, like a really fun project. But we would talk about like the sort of the complexity, and this was before there was on TikTok this conversation was coming up.
Yeah,
what is luxury? What does it mean?
Heard, if you had never seen a Birkin before, you may well have now because of this
conversation
around after the tariffs. All these Chinese factories coming out and saying we're the ones who make your bags, get them cheap from us. And there's a lot of just interesting conversations going on around counterfeits, around dupes, around the culture of that. And these aren't counterfeit bags. They have no logos on them. It is very clearly structurally not an Hermes Birkin, but it is also very clearly referencing the look of an Hermes Birkin.
Yeah, enough that I am convinced. I wore this to an appointment and I was kind of shopping around a sort of fancy district in our neighborhood near us called Westmount. That's a high-end, the kind of place where you might see someone with a Birkin. And I am convinced that someone let me go to the front of the line because I had this on.
And see, that really surprises me because Birkins never have crossbody straps.
But I was definitely carrying it like this.
Okay.
But regardless, I think I might also be lying to myself. Maybe this was a nice lady who was like, go first. But I feel like I radiated this sort of sense of belonging in this neighborhood that I never feel that I belong. But there was something about carrying this item that gave me this sense of like, I could shop at this fancy shop. At the same time, I'm like, I hate the idea that someone would look at me and think that's a woman who spent $40,000 on a handbag. I don't know. It's a very complicated feeling. Yeah. But I do love my bag. I love it, and I made it.
Yeah, that's like, it's so thrilling to be able to try a different craft and like get a result from it that you're like, wow. I'm actually really happy with this. And you know your leathers and like the leathers.
Yeah. It's really beautiful quality.
Really well. It's pebbled. It's not. I don't think they have the completely smooth matte leathers. But I mean,
these last much longer too. Like there's a reason these are chosen for handbags is that they just have the ability to withstand sort of the knocks into things that bags get.
And for this one, like there's an inner pocket that gets sewn in.
So just to give you a sense of what the finished bag looks like inside. I can actually get my laptop into this, but just barely. Like by letting out the sides a little bit, it can hold my laptop. So here's what the inside of the bag looks like. Here's the pocket. And
so it's not fully lined, but it kind of is because there's a second layer of leather.
Yeah. So they also sent little twillies.
I had them too. They sent. You can choose the colors to. We didn't specifically choose. I like what they sent, and they sent this little thing.
So this is the like a wax thread that is included. They send you a whole bunch of very sharp needles. I'm going to tell you, it's a pokey business. Like, you're going to bleed. I'm obviously fully recovered, but I'm not going to lie. I definitely poked myself. Did you poke yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's pokey.
Yeah.
So this is like the piping, the stuff. So you're actually at one point like wrapping leather around this and sewing through like 4 layers of leather plus this.
Yeah.
And then they even included a couple of these little guys. I don't know if you had these. Our kits weren't exactly the same, but These are like special pins that are used to hold, you put them through these little holes to hold things together. And it's like very much designed to not hurt the leather. Like it's a very professional little
It's a thoughtful, really
and thoughtful kit.
Yeah.
And I'm totally going to order another one. And we got an affiliate link. It's not usually our deal, but that's the way they work. So we're going to include it. If this does make you want to do it, you can get 10% off if you use it. Our code,
and the code, yeah.
Yeah, our code is Espace10. I'm going to be the first person to sign up and use it because I want to make another one.
All of that's down in our caption. There are also like, these aren't all Birkins, right?
No,
there are
tons of
so
other
many
bags.
different beautiful bags. They have their own designs. They have a bunch of designs that reference other famous, well-known handbags, and it's like a really fun way to try it out, and a great way to gain an appreciation also for how much work goes into these bags. And many bags are machine sewn, but it's still a human under that machine. It's as crafters, as knitters and crocheters, we know what it is to make our own clothes, and I do think this is one of my favorite talking points about fashion industry. Anyone who has ever tried to make their own anything, clothes, scarves, friendship bracelet, knows gets a different perspective on what it is to clothe our bodies.
Yeah, and what it takes to make
things. And I think as a handbag aficionado, as somebody with quite a few of them who has, I've sort of, definitely impulse bought handbags in the past and had ones that I don't really use, thought I would, but it's given me a different perspective on my consumption of handbags, and definitely made me sort of slow down on those decisions and wait for the investment pieces. And even though that investment piece will never actually be a real Birkin from an MS store or a resale site.
But like more an investment in your use of it, not an investment like I'm going to resell this one day.
Oh, exactly.
Not at all. Like that's not a level we're operating on.
Yeah, exactly. An investment in the experience.
Yeah.
And and prioritizing good materials and good craftsmanship.
But hey, I was showing Naomi. I brought I have a Coach bag that I bought 20 years ago. A little leather one, bright purple, which I adore. And it's just dirty. Like suede is super hard to clean. I had brought it a couple places, but like that bag doesn't owe me a cent. I wore it so much and I used it so much. And I remember at the time that I bought it, I was young in my career. It was probably more than I could afford, but I loved it. And even just pulling it out and showing it to you, I felt all those feelings of loving it.
It takes you back.
It takes you back. And it's like, it's not like socks and underwear. These are things that like they're exterior, they're part of what we present to the world.
Yeah.
We bring them with us in all our experiences. I don't know. I think if you're gonna like have a silly little thing that you love, handbags is not a bad one to have.
I'm really excited to have that experience with this bag, for it to gain that weathering and patina there over time, for it to get stained, for it to get ballpoint pen marks all over the inside, and add some charms. I want to make a charm that says, "Thanks, I made it."
I love that idea. I think that'd be really fun.
To make it really obvious that I made it, that I didn't buy a cheap knockoff. These are not cheap knockoffs by any means.
No.
They are high quality materials, and even more so when you spend all the time to make it yourself. But people think whatever they think when they catch your eye in the street, or they don't think about you at all, because nobody's really thinking about you outside, and I have to remember that.
I know.
All that to say.
So is this going to be good for our meditation practice? We're going to be like, I'm going to let it pass through me. The person is not looking at me.
But they might be looking at my Birkin, in which case I want it to say, "Thanks, I made it."
I really love that idea. I have my punch needle kit.
That's a good idea.
I could make us little things. So anyway, I hope it was fun to hear about it. They really were super fun to make. They were not difficult. It was quite meditative.
Yeah, I found it to be just a really interesting making experience all around.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And like I said, I totally plan to make another one. I think they'd also make really fun gifts. Like I love making things for people.
Yeah.
But I can't knit sweaters for them. I don't have time for that. But I could maybe do this.
Well, eventually it will only take you 5 hours. So
I get good enough. Well, it was really fun doing this with you.
So take some time. Oh, sorry.
Bestie.
Yes, it was. Sorry, I talked over that.
That's okay.
So that was a really sweet sentiment. It's very true. We actually did just pass Mother's Day, but it is exactly the sort of thing. I think they went hard on their Mother's Day promotion.
Yeah,
it's exactly the sort of thing that's fun for that. Maybe like a bridal shower, like a bachelorette activity, or a birthday activity, or I don't know. It's fun. It's that kind of fun, and it's fun to do it with somebody and egg each other on and all that. Yeah. So I'm really excited to finish mine. You've put a fire under me to do it now that I've been talking about it for the past 20 minutes.
We could go out with our little faux fur Birkins. It would be so much fun. Okay. Anyway, so there you go. That's something else that we worked on since the last podcast. It's been just so much fun. And, you know, you can put yarn in it.
You can put yarn in it. It could be a knitting bag.
So I have a whip that we kind of skipped over, but it brings us back around to Caitlin Hunter conversation.
Yeah,
Should I
sure.
go to that? Okay. So I have a whip where, like I was saying, I was a bit burnt out on knitting, and then I got inspired to do the King Salmon sweater by Caitlin Hunter, knit by Knitwork. So
I haven't seen it since you finished the colorwork.
Isn't it great? Oh, I'm looking at the screen and the way it's
It looks
popping.
fantastic.
It's
on the screen.
amazing.
I'm up close to it, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of, because I was wondering whether it would pop,
it pops.
because of the yarns together. Here, let me show you. I thought maybe they would be too close.
Yeah,
but it really does at a distance, even
Big
if
time.
just a foot.
So part of this is like I was keen to do something sort of roots inspired. I think the sort of patriotism that's running through Canada at the moment had me thinking about what is Canadian fashion, what are iconic Canadian styles. Yeah. And so Roots is a store here in Canada that has these sort of iconic cabin sweaters. Imagine like the sock monkey sock sort of vibe, right? So it's got the marled gray as basically often like a white and red or a black and red stripe in the ribbing. So I was like, what if I bring that to the King Salmon? And that's how I got here. So I added, went to a twisted rib, and I added a little red stripe in here, which I'll bring back in the cuffs and in the hemline.
Really nice.
But now I'm rocking on to the body. Yeah. So famously, and Caitlin's very clear about this in this pattern description, it's a very deep yoke. Because in order to get the entire, they're King Salmon, they need a lot of room. But it is a worsted weight colorwork sweater, and as you do. But I think there's lots of cool nights coming this summer that I'll be throwing this on around a campfire.
You could be wearing it outside today.
Absolutely.
It's like instead of a jacket.
In fact, I was thinking maybe I would put it on. Do you mind if we do a snap and I'll just try it on real quick? Okay. I'm going to be naked. So
it's fitting well. It's not,
it's not as deep as all that.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be 13 inches or 13.5 in my size when you break, but I actually was already at 14 because my row gauge wasn't perfect.
So did you choose a size with less positive ease than Caitlin recommends?
No, I went for size 3.
Sometimes in the patterns where people comment that it's really, really deep, it's because maybe you just want less positive ease would help that, because she recommends a lot of positive ease in her patterns.
Well, and definitely this one in particular, she's like, but there's, if you look at it, like there's a lot of room here. Like there's got to be 8, maybe 10 inches.
Yeah. But it's not falling at your elbow.
No,
by any means.
It isn't.
Yeah.
No, not by any means. So I know that a light version of the sweater is in progress design-wise, I think, or it might be out, which has a little bit more of a less deep yoke because it's obviously in fingering weight instead of in worsted. So if that's something that concerns you and you're like, I don't know. But I think there's something kind of fabulous about this. Cool. It's so big and bold. And we were talking about this with Caitlin Hunter, that I think she's having a moment of big, bold design. And it's really interesting to me. And I can't wait to finish this.
I just noticed that like there's speckles here, right? In the colorwork, and then the belly is plain.
Yeah. In the detail of like, this is so clearly a King Salmon. Yeah. I sent a snap of it to a friend of ours. Who is a fisherman and who goes to Alaska to go fishing for King Salmon, and who recognized it immediately. I was like, oh my God, that's a King Salmon. I was like, yes, it is.
So cool.
I'm feeling super motivated to get this finished so I can wear it on cool summer nights.
Fantastic. Awesome.
I'm going to keep wearing it while we film the rest.
Sure.
You have a bold Caitlin Hunter as well.
I do.
Let's have a look.
Well, I think we're going to have to snap again.
Oh, okay. Let's do it. Ooh.
So I am wearing my Alpine Bloom tee that I finished a couple of weeks ago in the Knitting for Olive Merino and Shopavola Crazy Zababall. So this is a top that I started after I cast on the poppy tee and ripped through and finished before I'd even reached sleeves on my poppy tee. It just really kept me going. This is a deeper, I think proportionately maybe a bit of a deeper yoke on me, but I'm honestly really liking that on a woolly tee for summer where it's not all up in my armpits. Yeah. Really. It's airy, it's breezy, it's not going to get me through like the heat waves of summer, obviously, but it's for a knitted tee, which can kind of be a bit of an oxymoron sometimes, it makes sense, this fabric. It's lovely and light. we made kits for it, not in this exact combination that I don't have anymore, but we did have fun picking things with some really nice contrasts and kind of like wanting to stay in a bit of a botanical focus. So I just love pinks and greens together. So this is the color Wild Berries and Shooting Star. I think that would be a gorgeous option. And then we went like purples and yellows, like
very
complementary colors.
Spring colors. So this is Dusty Violet and Garden Party.
So
together.
I based this combination on looking at quite a few other Ravelry projects for ideas on yarn pairings, and quite a few people have done this, knitting for Olive Merino and the Zabbable Crazy. I'm glad I looked at their projects first because as I was knitting it, I found it a little stringy and I was a little worried about it because both of these yarns feel on the lighter side as you're knitting them. But both of them, even Shopavola, which is a sock yarn, and nylon and superwash, they do bloom into the color work and settle beautifully once blocked. So I did a steam of the yoke when I was about halfway through the color work just to kind of set my head back straight and reassure myself that it was going to work out. And it's, again, a bit of a trust the process moment, but the color work I think really settled into itself beautifully. And it's got this gorgeous little neckline detail with the lace. And then I did, because of the way the lace is knitted, it has to be bottom up, which works here because you cast on and then work it. But for the sleeves, you can't keep knitting it. So you have to knit this separately and graft it on. It is so worth doing this, I think. It doesn't take all that long. It's not that many stitches, and it's just such a beautiful little effect.
That it is the same and it scallops out the way you need it to. That's really nice.
You can check out the other projects on Ravelry. A bunch of people have knit ribbon on the sleeves instead. Some people have even added the scallop to the bottom ribbing, which I think looked beautiful, but would be a lot of grafting to do. And by the time I got through the body, I was like, I'm excited to wear this. I'm not going to bother doing that. So really happy with this overall. I think I knit it exactly as written. I worked the same body length for my size. I did size 2. And I think it'll be great over dresses, over high-waisted pants, which is, as you all know, very much my style.
I realized I didn't mention what yarn I was using for this, so I better just quickly say this is the Haynes Creek Aran from Gathering Yarn. We mentioned it a couple podcasts back when we first got it in. It's also a Canadian company, so that's part of the Canadiana vibe. So it's a worsted weight, and I'm working
beautiful
on
classic woolly worsted weight.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we have one really major new yarn that we should mention.
Yeah.
Major. It's a major moment. This is Make It Glitz. So you probably have heard us go on and on about Make It Tweed. It's one of our favorite things. So Rico Designs has come out with the next iteration on this idea, which is Make It Rainbow Glitz. So and Make It Tweed Glitz.
Which is, I'm
not sure 100% about their ideas of what's rainbow, what's tweed. The point is they're awesome.
They're a tweed and glitter.
Yes.
Basically a glitter yarn. It's not sequins. It's a Lurex, I think, strand running through it. So really sparkly, catches the light beautifully, but it's not over the top. It's not in your face.
No.
It's not subtle. It's just perfect.
So if you were waiting, and we have hundreds of people who were, for Make It Rainbow, the original Make It Tweed in the dark rainbow color, it seems that may not be coming back, but this is the closest I think we're going to get. So it's got that dark sort of main color background with the rainbow, but then it has the glitz in it. So if you're looking to knit with black or charcoal or gray, this is an ideal pairing versus this. So this one's called black and this one's called white, although it's still not exactly white. But it's slightly more of a light.
Darker than the original Make It Tweed that doesn't have glitter in it, that has a very clear white thread running through it. Yeah. Both of these I think would pair beautifully with darker colors. Yeah. Here we have it with Snefnug in black. We love pairing these yarns with fluffy yarns, blown yarns or stranded with mohair as well, because it really melts the textures together and makes it look like you've created your own yarn. And then same goes for like these other colors.
So this is also glitz. It's just instead of it Make It Rainbow Glitz, it's Make It Tweed Glitz. We put them all together in one matrix in terms of our website, just so you can find them all together. But this one is kind of a mint color. So it's like it's a beautiful minty tone, and Amalia's knitting with this right now with some other sort of minty surf tones, and it's really subtle but very beautiful.
I think
Pure Lana.
Pure Lana and Trendy Cashmere,
Yeah.
No, it's mohair. It's the Gepard mohair.
So she's just laying on all the best stuff. So when she's got an FO, maybe she can lend it to us. So that one's called Mint, I think. And then this one is called, I think, White or Natural. There's also a rose pink, but it hasn't arrived yet. So we're curious how that comes in.
This one would probably, we had somebody ask when we posted on Instagram that this is now in stock, we had somebody ask which is the most neutral. And I would say this
Make
one.
It glitz.
It does have shots of pink and teal and gold running through it as the sparklies, but the tweed bits themselves are just white. Whereas the tweed bits in these ones are both multicolored, colorful tweed bits.
There you go. And then this one, the tweed nups are green.
Mint green, yeah.
And then the Lurex is rainbowy.
Yeah, the Lurex is the same rainbow through all of them, I think, like pink and yellow and
Let's add that to our website description. I'm so pleased that you pointed that out to me because I couldn't quite figure out what was going on. I just am like, wow, they're amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, that's good to know.
So yeah, Make It Rainbow Glitz is the tweed bits of rainbows, are rainbow colored. And Make It Tweed Glitz, the tweed bits are just like the colorway.
Okay.
So in the rose one that's coming, hopefully, like the tweed bits will probably be pink.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
Sorted.
Yeah. So these are quite good yardage. Usually 2 or 3 is enough to pair for your sweaters. And sometimes what I'll do to make them go further is I just don't put them in the cuffs or the ribbing, and I add them to the main section to save a little bit.
Yeah. Beautiful for holiday knits. Get your holiday project started. Yeah. Now. Why not?
Other business?
I think there's one more product as a kit. We may as well. Steph made them, so let's show you. You may recognize the Chevron baby blanket, classic Espace Tricot pattern designed by Melissa Clolo many years ago. Still going strong.
Almost 10,000 projects on Ravelry.
It's wild. 9,700. We love how much you will love this, and it just never gets old. We knit this sample a couple years ago in Manos del Uruguay, and the Alegria worsted weight from them comes in these adorable mini little bites, bocados, which are perfect for this striping pattern. So they're mini skeins like this, 20 grams, excuse me. And we have it all together in a handy kit with 100% merino worsted weight and die catches just to give you some extra peace of mind when you're blocking it. And so we have the original pumpkin spice colorway.
So we call this one pumpkin spice.
And this is aquarium.
So this one's got a little bit more of a beachy, sailory sort of theme.
Yeah, there are 5 colors. You can mix it up. You don't have to put them in the order that I put them in the bag.
Yeah.
All up to you, and just a fun way to refresh a classic.
And just such a lovely gift.
Kit it up like this. If you know an expectant parent who knits, this is such a fun gift because it's a really relaxing project to be working on
while you're waiting.
Everyone's experience of the early years of childhood is different, but a lot of people do find time to knit, and this would be an excellent project for that. Quiet, calm, couch knitting, making something beautiful for a new member of the family.
But this is definitely in limited quantities. We just did a little mini restock, sort of to celebrate. We've got Knit City coming. That's our next topic, and I thought that'd be nice to have for people who are visiting the shop. Bundles. But once they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
So,
well, Knit City, you said it.
Let's do it. Okay, so by the time you see this, if we get it edited in time, which I think we will, it will be the Knit City weekend here in Montreal. Woohoo! So Friday night, we are staying open late till 9 p.m. to welcome people who've arrived in Montreal. We hope if you're in town, come see us. And then Saturday, we're going to go hit the marketplace.
Yeah, we'll be at the marketplace. We won't have a booth, but our stellar weekend team are holding down the fort at the store too. We're staying open on a normal schedule on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, so we're just really looking forward to seeing some of our knitty friends and discovering new yarns, which we always do.
It's been a while since we've been to a knitting event. I know. Last year we did so many because we were touring the book, and it was just like, it was really reviving and everything, and so exciting. And we've had a bit of a break from it, I guess, since Knit City last year. Well,
Toronto.
And Rhinebeck. So, but yeah, I need my dose of meeting you all.
Yeah, and I want to buy another fingering weight yarn to throw into my Tuscaloosa Nations, because I know where they're they're going to go now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're really excited for the weekend. Looking forward to seeing everybody. And if you're watching this, thank you so much for tuning in. And
we hope we've inspired you either with knitting projects or to try another craft.
And we're not sure. This might be our last summer podcast. Probably. We both have travel plans.
Yeah.
And that's the summer gets hard for us to find time together to work on putting the show together. But we'd like to get back to it in August for sure.
Yeah. So until next time.
Yeah.
And that may be a little while, but stay cozy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.